Hey guys, in this video we're going to be checking out this new micro from FullSpeed RC. This is the Fighter 130 and they're selling this on Gearbest. So this has a little bit bigger motors than the Leader 120 that you've seen before on my channel. These are our 1106 motors, I believe. Let's see if a camera will focus. Yeah, there we go. 1106 7500 kV motor, so a little bit bigger. It's going to have a little more power. It's actually going to draw more power. Which kind of makes me worried because we still have a JST back here. I'll talk about that here in a second. It's a 130 motor to motor, so it's a little bit bigger, so it can run these 3-inch props. These are 30-20 bull nose. These are kind of these old school props, these T-style props. When they first came out, this is one of the first generation of props. So these aren't the most efficient in terms of battery life. But we'll fly it anyway with these, just to get an idea of what the battery life is like, what kind of flight time you expect. But there's a lot better props out now these days. So I'll put some in the description for alternative props for you guys. And we pretty much have the same components we have like on a lot of the other ones, like on the Leader 120 and Grasshopper 95, except this one has a separate camera and VTX. So you still have the same 10 amp 4-in-1 ESC, BLHAS, D-Shot 600, Omnibus F3 flight controller with OSD. But here we see we have a separate video transmitter, 25 milliwatt, and there's your button for changing your bands and channels. And you've got a separate micro camera there. So that's a little bit different. So usually these cameras are about 600 to 800 TV lines. I believe it's a 600 TV line camera. Pretty familiar with these, so I expect pretty similar video quality. Of course, we got the OSD on there, and I did check the firmware that's on the flight controller, and unlike the Leader 120 and the Grasshopper 94, where they kind of did some tuning, this one doesn't look like they did any kind of tuning at all. It just comes with Betaflight 3.1.0, which is really old, and just the default Betaflight PID, so nothing. They didn't do anything tuning wise on this, which is unusual because I know that some other reviewers like Nick had mentioned about them tuning their quads before sending them up, but apparently this model they didn't do that. So I'm still going to fly it with the stock PIDs on Betaflight 3.1.0. We'll see how it does with these props. Not expecting a whole lot. I'm pretty sure it's going to require some tuning, but I'll show you what it flies like out of the box for you guys that don't want to do any flashing or tuning, and you get an idea whether or not this model is for you or not. Let's see what else you got here on the back. We got a little buzzer and a small LED. Now, I don't think that's programmable. And on the bottom we got a Velcro strap here. Going to be using my rubber bands instead. I don't like these Velcro straps. And like on the Leader 120, the screws and everything are countersunk on the bottom, so you get a nice flat surface for your battery. Nothing to dig into your battery. That's kind of nice. So you get the same battery you got on the other FullSpeed models, the 500 milliamp hour 2S 30C with the JST. It's an okay battery, not great. And you get some Velcro for the battery and some spare standoffs and screws for the props. So we get a weight measurement of this, coming in at 62 grams. So that's a little on the light side for 3-inch. It should have a pretty good power to weight ratio for these 1106 motors. So just like all the other FullSpeed models, you do have to add your own receiver. So I'll be adding my own FlySky receiver here, and you just add it to these 3 pins here on the side that are shown. It's going to be ground on the right, then 5 volts, and then signal, and then the second rail on the inside is for Spectrum. So the power pin is going to be 3.3 volts on that rail. If you want to see the receiver installation, I think I show that in the Leader 120 video, so if you want to check that out, you can watch that video. Anyway, before I go and fly this, I just wanted to mention that I think I'm a little disappointed that they chose this frame for this power setup. I think that for something this big with 3-inch props, they should definitely have something that can hold a micro swift, because you have a separate camera here from a VTX. You might as well just put a micro swift here, but the distance between these two side plates will not accommodate a micro swift, so that's really unfortunate. I think it would make the model a lot better. I'm hoping that in the future they come up with models more with the micro swifts instead of these all-in-one cameras. These micro cameras I think are on the way out, and I think that the micro swift is the way to go for these models, especially for these bigger motors. It can definitely carry the micro swift no problem. So at this point I'm going to go ahead and I'll take out to the field and we'll fly a little line of sight and FPV. Pretty quiet, pretty stable. Do a punch out test here. Oh, that's pretty good. Those 1106 motors. Very floaty. It's pretty windy today. Coming right at me. Seems to be fairly stable. I don't hear any fluttering. Pretty good power. Try another punch out. Yeah, it's pretty good power, but I think those props are not that efficient. I mean, for 1106 motors, I'm kind of expecting a little bit more. Oh, it's really windy up there. Alright, go ahead and I'll FPV this. So unfortunately, I ended up here with a camera lens that was out of focus, and I ended up crashing because I can't really see that well. I got a little too low to the ground, and then I tried to actually fix the lens by trying rotating it, but it's completely locked in. They glued it down, so there's no way for me to adjust the focus, which is unfortunate. So if you happen to get a Fighter 130 from Gearbest with a blurry lens like this, I recommend contacting them and having them send you a replacement, because yeah, this is pretty much unflyable. I do get this once in a while. I think the last model I got ready to fly was the AR Fun 95. It also came with a out of focus camera lens. It's somewhat flyable because I'm familiar with this area, but yeah, it's just all blurry, and it's you can see that it doesn't look very good. But decided to go ahead. I'm just going to continue to fly it and do the best I can with it and see how it does, and it seems to fly pretty well, as I think I can fly it based on how much I can see, which is not much. But it seems to fly okay. It doesn't seem like there's a lot of jello, a lot of vibrations or oscillations. That things seem very balanced, prop wise and motor wise. So can't complain about that. Power seems pretty good. I'm pretty sure though that if you go to a 3-bladed or 4-bladed prop, 3-inch prop, you're probably going to draw too many amps and probably going to get the death rolls, especially with this JST connector. So you should keep that in mind if you do switch props. Should probably try the I think they're the Rotor X 3030s or 3020s, and then I think GemFan also makes a clone of that prop. It's not a bullnose prop. It's a little tapered at the end, so that might be a more efficient prop for more flight time than this bullnose prop. This is an HU prop, by the way. So I'll put a link to that prop in the description. You guys could try that one out if you want. But this prop's okay. It's just that I don't think the flight time is going to be all that great on this particular prop. But beyond the flight time and the camera lens, I think the flight characteristics are pretty good. And with the 1106 motors, I think you'll have a pretty good experience in terms of power. But I think that for future upgrades, I would suggest maybe upgrading the battery, switching the JST connector out. I think I'm gonna actually try and swap these components into a different frame, probably that Froggy 135 frame, and make this with a Microswift.